So we begin today with some breaking news related to a trade report that involves a certain Memphis Grizzly guard who may be hanging out in a brand new zip code soon. We're going to break down this report and talk about what it may mean for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Welcome back to the Timberwolves Digest. As always, North America. I'm Dave Dabbah, and I bring you daily Minnesota Timberwolves news, trade reports, trade rumors, and, of course, a little bit of commentary new to the channel. Please go ahead and subscribe. On today's show, we're going to talk about that breaking news report, which, of course, involves Shams. But before we get into that, as always, I like to ask you all a question at the start of every single podcast. And today's question is a question we've asked a couple weeks ago as well. Should the Minnesota Timberwolves really at this point go ahead and trade for Ja Morant? By the way, our T-Wolves are 15-5 since Thanksgiving, which of course is the best record in the NBA. But clearly this Minnesota Timberwolves team is not getting what we need out of Rob Dillingham, and a deal for a point guard is certainly on Tim Connelly's table at this point. We begin by taking a quick look at this particular report from Shams a little bit earlier in the day. This is total breaking news that the Memphis Grizzlies at this point are entertaining phone calls from people around the NBA about Ja Morant. And of course, Yahoo's Kevin O'Connor got involved. He went ahead and posted that Minnesota, Miami, and Sacramento are all teams to keep an eye on. On today's show, we're going to dive into this report, another report related to Ja Morant as well, and have a true conversation about whether or not you want Ja Morant on the Minnesota Timberwolves. But before we dive into today's Timberwolves news, this video is brought to you by Kalshi. Download Kalshi by using the link below and enter code DIGESTNBA, and you'll get $20 when you trade your first 100. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the U.S. On the platform, you can trade yes or no on real-time events like sports, elections, news, and pretty much anything. And whether you're in California or Texas or anywhere else in the country, Kalshi is now available in all 50 states for sports fans. Trade on game outcomes, playoff chances, or player performances, all on a regulated market where you can cash out at any time. Personally, I see real value in the Timberwolves winning 55-plus games. Remember, they won 56 games last season. So look, Kalshi is generally a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge. And of course, you can close positions whenever you want. Download Kalshi with the link in the description. Don't forget to use code DIGESTNBA to get your $20 bonus. Once again, I want to thank Kalshi for sponsoring today's video. So we begin by taking a look at a Brett Siegel report from, of course, Clutch Points. Morant is expected to generate interest around the league over the next 3 weeks, leading up to the NBA trading deadline, which, by the way, is on February 5th, with the Sacramento Kings, Minnesota Timberwolves, and Miami Heat being teams that have previously expressed interest in the Grizzlies' star guard, league sources told Clutch Points. So, look, we've talked about Ja Morant in the past, possibly becoming a member of this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And all of the off-court stuff aside, as well as just for a second, don't think about how much Ja Morant is actually making. And just from a pure basketball perspective, I believe that a Ja Morant addition to this Minnesota Timberwolves team would be an absolutely huge thing for this team. Now, when we talk about true, and I do mean this, true point guards in the NBA, Ja Morant certainly is one of the top 5 that actually comes to mind. He is a true on-the-court leader from a point guard perspective. He doesn't necessarily need to score 25 or 30 points a night for him to be highly effective. What we've seen from Ja Morant on the court throughout his career has been fantastic. Now, some of the negatives around Ja Morant, of course, you've got to bring up some of the off-the-court issues, but you also have to think about the injuries. And are you really willing to pay for a guy who might actually be out for a significant amount of games every single season? It is a question in which I'm sure Tim Connelly and the other GMs in the NBA are thinking about at this point. Now, as I sort of indicated, Ja Morant is not cheap at this point. But when you think about what he actually delivers from a point guard perspective, he does deliver a lot. He is significantly less money right now than the guy that actually got traded yesterday to the Washington Wizards. On a side note, outside of Michael Jordan, Trae Young is the only player in the history of the NBA to say, I want to be a Washington Wizard. I am just saying. So Morant's making just under $40 million this year. Next year, he'll make 42, and the year after that, he'll make 44. And those are some pretty big numbers for a guy that might only play 50 or 60 games for you during the course of a season. I would love to know what your thoughts and opinions are on the topic. Do you think the Minnesota Timberwolves should ultimately, at this point, go ahead and seriously consider making a move for one Ja Morant? Go ahead and drop your comments in North America. I want to hear from you. Now, super quick, last night's game. We covered it a little bit in our last podcast. I did just simply want to give some love to Jaden McDaniels, who had a fantastic game, ended up with 26 points in the game, and was certainly one of the key differentiators in the game. If you haven't had a chance yet to check out our Rudy Gobert Love podcast, you should definitely go back and check it out. We posted it late last night, and it really gets into the difference that Rudy Gobert has made for this Minnesota Timberwolves team so far this year, and also asks the question about whether or not Rudy is a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, which of course I think he is. And once again, should the Timberwolves go ahead and make a move for one Ja Morant? I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are, North America. Go ahead and drop your comments in. For the Timberwolves Digest, as always, North America, I'm Dave Dabbah, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.